Welcome to Changing the Sales Game on webtalkradio.com. I am your host, Connie Whitman. As always, we're thrilled that you're joining us this week. So as you tune in every week, number one, I hope you feel my passion to help you change your sales game, whatever that means to you and where you are in your journey. But I also hope that between my guests and I and our ideas, our strategies, our tips, that you're able to incorporate those little action steps to create huge impact on the back end for yourself. So again, I'm honored to have you join us every week. Now, my motivational quote today is by the wonderful Jim Rohn, and he says, "One customer well taken care of could be more valuable than $10,000 worth of advertising." Now, after finding the quote for the show today, I began to reflect on the money that I happen to see with my clients, these companies, how much they spend on advertising versus putting the value on deliverables after the sale is made. Now, too often I see everyone striving to, bring in new business that they forget to follow up and show up for the new pieces of business that they close every day. So in essence, what's happening is money or clients are going out the back door because we're focusing on the front door. Now, I believe we need a balance of constant new business development activity, as well as nurturing and delivering great solutions to our existing clients and or potential clients. Personally, I've been blessed to live off referrals for most of my sales career and the past 22 years in business. And it's not magic and it's not luck, maybe to a certain extent, but I over deliver. I grow my relationships. So I always play in the long game, not looking for those immediate transactional types of businesses. And I remain relevant and useful to all of my past as well as my current clients. So I'm really excited for my conversation today with my guest, who happens to be the amazing Jeff Blackman. Now, Jeff is a Hall of Fame speaker, best-selling author, award-winning success coach, broadcast personality, and lawyer. Yes, he's brilliant. He heads Blackman and Associates, a result-producing business growth firm in the Chicago land area. Jeff's clients call him the business growth specialist. Now, as a radio, TV, talk show host, Jeff's guests, I cannot speak today. Jeff's guests have been Oprah Winfrey, Jerry Seinfeld, astronaut Jim Lovell, and the Olympic gold medalist Caitlyn Marie Jenner, born as William Bruce Jenner. Jeff's 6 best-selling books include Peak Your Profit, Stop Whining, Start Selling, and his latest bestseller was published in December of 22, BULLSEYE, Hitting Your Target at Home and at Work. One last thing, additionally, Jeff's audio business growth system, Opportunity Selling, 6 profit producing steps to multiply your earnings and the results audio. Jeff also hosts 2 video learnings called Profitable Customer Service and How to Set and Really Achieve Your Goals. He's also, and this is the personal part, but he's lovely. He's also a happy husband, devoted dad, ecstatic new grandfather, veteran softball player, avid hiker, and loyal or nutty Chicago Cubs fan. And Jeff also helps create profit through people. Please help me welcome my new amazing friend, Jeff, to the show. So Jeff, thanks for being on.
Hey, Connie, what a kick. And you did ensure that both you and I are also rabid hockey fans.
Yes, that's right. So I wasn't going to add the personal stuff, but the essence of you as a businessman, I think, has so much personal integrity. So it was just fun to add those little fun pieces about the human side, right? We are business, but we are human after all. So that was just really cool. Yeah, really cool stuff. All right. So first thing, tell me about, and I'm going to do in quotes for anyone who's listening on Apple and not watching on YouTube, but you call it relationship power, or the little R and the big R. Can you just describe what that is? I know you talk about it in the books, but just so we could set the tone for today, and then we can build from there.
Well, what's so interesting, if we ask anybody who's listening to you right now or watching us right now, is your business a relationship-driven business? They would all say yes. They would all put enthusiastically their hands in the air. However, that's not enough, because typically when we think of relationships, we really only think of that personal, maybe the business relationship. And it always bothered me that there wasn't a deeper definition for that. up till now. So when I talk to clients about relationship power, I stress to them there are two aspects. One is what I call the little r, and then you've got the big R. So what's the distinction? The distinction is little r is traditional relationship building, Connie. So it's things like, are you a good human being? Your sincerity, your chemistry, your rapport, your bond, your connection, your ability to be a good person. There's a Yiddish, a German, or a Hebrew word, mensch, and a mensch is simply, are you a good person? But that is not enough. You, your team must also possess the big R, and big R goes to your ability or your team's ability to be what I call growth specialists. Depending upon your product, service, or solution, you are either a business growth specialist or a personal growth specialist. So what does that focus on? It focuses on things like helping others maximize gain, minimize loss, improving performance, productivity, profitability. So the way in which that's achieved, and I always stress to folks, and again, it does not matter what your business is. There are only two driving motivators that influence every single decision that's being made, either by a decision maker or a decision influencer. And the first one is, what will you do to improve my condition? That's my present. So that's when someone's got a problem to solve, a need to fill, or a dream or goal to get. And I'm sure you, just like me, and those who watch and listen to you on a regular basis, they get calls that say, I need your help. Someone's got an immediate problem. So therefore, they seek your counsel, advice, guidance, product, service, solution in terms of how will you improve my condition? That's the present. But then we need to look into the future. So what people really invest in is your ability, my ability, your listeners and viewers' abilities to help those folks attain a more favorable future. Let me repeat that. Help others improve their condition and help them attain a more favorable future. If you do that for others, guess who else, Connie, you also do it for? Yourself. And that's the real key, is that you make it about those that you serve. When I work with folks initially, I'll say to them, your website's got two words, about us. And I stress to them that your decision makers don't care about you. They say, well, okay, big shot, what language do you use? So that's why we don't have anything that says about Jeff. Instead, it's focused on what we're going to be able to help you achieve. And we don't have a contact section at our website. It says connect. It's just a subtlety, but the subtleties of language really matter. And with my undergraduate degree in advertising, and then as you know, I'm a lawyer. I've been a lawyer since '82, but I never practiced. I've really learned that words really matter. And that's really an area that we work on with clients all the time in terms of how slight nuances, changes, or upgrades to their language really helps them both for the short term as well as for the long term.
Yeah. It's interesting, Jeff. So it's two things I wanted to comment on. I love the little r and I love the big R and that distinction. And it's funny because I know when I do my training, so just a couple of observations based on what you said from an application perspective, right? When I remember one new executive had gotten hired to one of my banks that I work with, and he kept saying, I kept hearing Connie Whitman in training, and why are we hiring outside people? Like, why aren't we using our internal resources? So he's skeptical, comes to my training at the end, he stayed. Now I don't know any of this, right? Prior to him coming. At the end, he came up to me and he shares that observation before meeting me. And he said, Con, not only do you teach people how to sell and build those lifelong relationships, right, that go on, that keep giving, and we keep helping, right? That's the big R piece. He says, but you do, and I'm defining your little R piece. He said, you also teach them how to be good human beings and how it's connected by, you have to be a good human being. Otherwise it does show up, good or bad, on the business side. So it was very complimentary that his observation shifted, but that's what you're talking about. And then my other observation is when I come in, people sometimes, especially organizations, that they're building a new culture. In banking, it's a new transition, right? Because years ago they were order takers. Now they're supposed to have these conversations, right? And everybody panics. So what I say to them is, you think you're providing good customer service because you're nice and you're kind and you're empathetic, and all of that is beautiful and needed. But if you're providing really good customer service, you have to be offering a solution, which means you have to be selling something. You have to be selling one of your products or services. So being nice is nice, but that doesn't mean you're providing good customer service. So sale and service to me are really the same thing in essence, because if I'm serving you good customer service, I have to be offering a solution. And then the last piece of what you said with the big R is, not only do I do that today, your immediate situation with whatever that opportunity or option is that you're offering, but what are you doing to help me plan for? With banks, it's my financial future. With a doctor or medical, it's my health future. So you help me today with my high blood pressure, but what are you helping me with long term? So we want to become I call them planning partners. You call them the big R, because I think we often fall into the little R and think, okay, I've done my job. So I love that distinction, Jeff. Really, really nicely done.
Well, what's so interesting about what you just said is that we assume, and I don't assume many things, but we assume that whomever we're dealing with is a good human being. So when I stress to my clients, your role is not to merely appease and please your customers or your clients or your prospects. And sometimes I get this look of befuddlement. They're kind of confused. Well, what do you mean? I go, your role is not to create conflict, but your role is to challenge your decision makers. And that's based upon both the questions that you ask as well as the recommendations that you offer. If you merely appease and please, it goes back to what you just alluded to, you're an order taker. And conceptually, you could be replaced someday by a robot who can merely take an order as opposed to create that connection and that bond. But when you acknowledge that I am not here to appease and please, I'm here to challenge my decision makers to reconsider or re-examine or rethink how they do, what they do, and why they do it, that elevates the relationship. So on a continual basis, I will get clients of any level, but especially at the top, I'll get chairmen, chairwomen, CEOs, presidents, business owners, VPs, whomever, who say, whoa, I hadn't thought about that before, or you are challenging me to look at this differently. That's one of the great things that the law taught me in going to law school is there's not black, there's not white, there's gray. And gray is, well, what if? What are the possibilities? That elevates the relationship to the partner level versus the vendor level. And I always stress to clients, Connie, partners are invaluable, vendors are expendable. And partners create high trust. When trust is high, what's low? Fear. One more time. When trust is high, what's low? Fear. And if you've got the opposite, so now you've got fear that's high, what's low? Trust. And that's a problem. External and internal. Because often when I talk to folks about what are some of the challenges that you face, I will ask them internally. And when I coach people, often we're talking about how do they handle the internal relationship. Two, best handle those that you report up to. And that in itself is an art. So this involves both science as well as art to be effective in the workplace, as well as outside meeting customers, clients, and prospects.
Yeah. It's the friction, right? Friction is really where the magic happens. As soon as we can challenge someone, all of a sudden they're like, wait, I never thought of that. Say that again. And that's when you differentiate yourself. And, you and I have talked about this, in our conversations in the past, but, like a bank is a bank. You're all doing the same thing, but why do I want to work with you? Right? You're a health provider. Why do I want to go to your practice versus another? Differentiate yourself. And that's by challenging me to say, well, you're doing this. How can we do that better? And oftentimes it's little baby steps or little tweaks that the business or the company needs to do to create a bigger trajectory of profit or growth or improve talent, new hiring talent, whatever it might be. So friction is really a good thing. And I like how you said, don't just you can't become a yes man. That's dangerous because now nothing grows and you're just feeding the ego of something that could be done potentially better. So I love it. In your book, and go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, because your point is so interesting in that one of the questions that I'll even ask clients is, as I communicate with you and learn things about your people, your team, your organization, how do you want me to communicate with you? And I give this little pause. They go, what do you mean? And I go, do you want me to be honest or do you want me to be diplomatic? No one has ever said diplomatic. Everyone says honest. So I have told CEOs over the years, presidents, and business owners, things they did not know about their organization, but I discovered it. And I had one CEO, you and I both have done a lot of work in banking, financial services over the decades. And one CEO literally said to me, Connie, he says, Blackman, what I really value in our relationship is that you never protect your butt and you never kiss mine. And that was a supreme compliment. It was a supreme compliment because he knew that I might tell him things that he did not want to hear, but he had to hear. And so I would share that with him. I'm sorry, go ahead. You're going to ask me something else.
Doesn't happen. Yeah, so I was going to say, I want to show your book. So in your book, and I know it's backwards on the thing, but I just want people to see what the cover looks like. But in your book, Peak Your Profits, you really emphasize the significance of asking the right questions. I call right questions your magic wand. Mm-hmm. Why do you feel this is such a crucial skill? And what are, you have some that you want to share because I love giving actionable things that people can use after the show. So why are they important? And can you give us some examples? That would be awesome.
Sure. And one of the things which is so interesting is that people often say to me, they want to work on their pitch or their spiel or their presentation. I go, if you are working on your pitch, so conceptually you are a pitcher, it places your decision maker in a position to what? Be a catcher. They've got to catch your thought process. Right. So the purpose of questions is simple. It helps you discover if you got a problem to solve, a need to fill, or a dream or goal to get. And I can't discover those things about a prospect or a client unless I'm asking them questions about their business. I've already passed the vetting test. Conceptually, they've gone to my website. They've read a book. They've read a newspaper article or a magazine article. They've heard me speak. So I don't need to do a data dump, or as my buddy, your buddy, Jeffrey Gitomer says, and Gitomer and I have been really very close friends since 1995. Jeffrey talks about those who choose to throw up when they show up. And that is a business blunder. People who simply do data dumps. And I tell clients, if you're doing that, they go, well, what if a client wants to know about me? I go, they already know about you because conceptually you've passed their vetting. You're with them in a virtual call, in person, on the telephone. If they've got a willingness to talk, that means they've got a problem with somebody who's currently serving them and they're looking for your expertise and talent. So questions, I specifically refer to them as power probes. And power probes begin with a who, a what, a when, a where, a why, a which, a how, a tell me more about, or and what else. The purpose is to engage, to connect, to get somebody else talking. Now, I get pushback to this strategy. Most salespeople are lazy. If anybody listening has got competitors who are lazy, send them a thank you note. So if you want to change the sales game, you are not going to do it based upon your current skills, attitudes, and behaviors. It requires new skills. So one skill that we work on with all clients, amongst a whole bunch of others, but is the ability to ask great questions. Now, I'll share those soon or some examples, and they'll actually give specifically, Connie, your listeners and viewers an opportunity to get something really special called the Sweet 16. But I stress to folks, when you focus on questions that begin with who, what, when, where, why, which, how, tell me more about, and what else, or the TED principle, which is tell me more about, E, explain to me how, D, describe for me, folks will initially say, well, hang on. Are you saying never ask a closed-ended question? Didn't say that. Closed-ended questions are okay 2 times. 1, qualification purposes. Are you dealing with a pretender or a player? And 2, it's decision time. Thumbs up, green light, approval, okay, yay, whatever it might require. And I stress to clients that before any conversation, they be well prepared and then implement the 3 Ps of a virtual call, in person, telephone, whatever it might be. Here's the first P. What's your purpose? What are you intending to accomplish in this moment of opportunity?
Yep.
So football has just started. And as a result of that, we hear the language RPO. And RPO is run pass option. Quarterback gets to make a decision. So I stress here RPO, meaning results, possibilities, opportunities. 1, know your purpose. What are you trying to accomplish for you as well as whomever you're chatting with? Second P, power probes. Write them down. So I'm really well prepared. You can accuse me maybe of being slow because of my multiple knee operations, or limited vision because of my multiple eye operations, transplants, and surgeries. You cannot accuse me of not being well prepared. And my clients say, Blackman, nobody prepares like you prepare. So I am prepared with key questions. I might not ask them, but I have them. I call it a dynamic dozen. And I urge people to create at least 12 open-ended need development questions. Those are their core questions. They might not get to them in every meeting, but those are your core questions. It allows you then, like a quarterback, to call an audible based upon what your decision maker shares. First, know your purpose. Second, know your power probes. And third, parade of progress. What are you going to do to plant the seed for what happens next? So if you, for example, were a prospect or client, Connie, I would say at the end of our conversation, okay, Connie, real quickly, let's review deliverables. On or before blank, you're going to send me yada, yada. On or before blank, I'm going to send you yada, yada. Connie, let's take a peek at the calendar so we can continue the conversation. So I'm planting the seed for the next call, parade of progress. Keep things moving forward. Before I start sharing some examples of power probes, fire away. Is there another question you want to ask me based upon what I just shared?
Now it's so obvious, and yet I see, and like you said, good that my clients are hiring me, because whoever they're working with or whatever they've done isn't working, right? So it's great when other people are lazy. I love it because like you and I, I have my 7 steps, and exactly what you were saying about those next steps. I call it the Connie Whitman loops. You have to go through all 7 steps. It's a process, right? It's like your 3 Ps, same, different formula, same strategy or infrastructure when you break it down. But my first step is being prepared. And that means, what questions are you going to ask? You should go in with some type of an agenda and a plan. And the funniest thing, Jeff, some of the employees, right, these organizations, the employees go, well, we don't use agendas. That's a waste of time. I go, it's a waste of time. It like, if you don't show up prepared and well, that's, and then you're not organic, and you go with the flow and let it unfold, human to human. So as I'm going through my agenda and Jeff answers my 4th question based on something I asked in my first question, guess where I write my notes? In the 3rd question. So when I get there, I skip it because we've already addressed it. So it doesn't hinder the communication or the conversation. It's just a structure, so you don't forget at the end of the meeting, oh crap, I didn't ask whatever the question was. And then the last thing I say at the end of every meeting, I just call it a call to action. What's that next step, right? So at the end, sometimes it's, let's close the business. Sometimes it's like, whoa, we have to do a lot more digging in. I need to review your forms. I need to send you this so you understand the strategy. So now but when's the next meeting? Let's schedule it right now. So you're either closing or you're making another appointment, or I'm not the right fit, which is okay also to address, so we don't waste each other's time. But you shouldn't get an objection. If you're getting an objection, somewhere in your process, you have a breakdown. So in your case, the PPP, did you ask enough questions, or did you go in and, like Jeffrey says, throw up or show up? So they're vomiting or pitching instead of getting to know who the client is and what the real need is. This is so logical, yet you see it, I see it. Most people intuitively, I don't know, don't do it in a natural way until they see the light. And then they're like, oh, like, okay, this makes so much sense. Why haven't I been doing it?
It's a game changer. And a game changer is not
It is.
my opinion, it's my experience, and most important, my client's experience. Now, I want to share some key power probes soon, and then we'll give
Yes, please.
your listeners and viewers an opportunity to get something complimentary from us that immediately is applicable. But I want to talk about language just for a second. So many people will offer, well, here's my opinion. My suggestion to my clients when I work with them is no longer use the opinion word when you're referencing what you now want to do on behalf of the decision maker. They go, what should I say? I say, focus on your experience, because your experience gives you the opportunity to share a success story based upon how you helped someone else solve a similar problem. So when people say, well, what's your opinion? I'll say, well, it's interesting. We've had two other clients recently who had the exact same experience that you did. Their challenges included yada and yada, just like you. Yet once we taught their folks how to, here are some of the key outcomes that they then were able to realize. But once I share that success story, I then ask a simple question is, and how will their successes, if they become your successes, help you grow your business? So once again, I'm getting their input, their opinion, their feeling, or their reaction. Now, you referenced the word close, and close is a word that you and I have heard for decades. People have heard it for hundreds of years. Did you close that piece of business? So we urge people not to close business, because close implies it's closed, it's done, it's finished, it's terminated. Misnomer, Connie, not true. Now you got to go to work. So in the 6 steps of opportunity selling, which are really highlighted in the 5th edition of Peak Your Profits, the first step is O, the opening. That's our initial contact. And I'll give a very quick overview. P is probe, as we discussed, asking terrific questions. R is reveal. Let me reveal the solution to help you solve this problem you just shared with me during the probe stage. T is translate. I'm going to translate features, not what something is, but instead what it does. And I always stress to folks, focus on the does, not the is, and is negotiate if necessary. And then TY is what most people call the close, and I call it the yes. Seek the yes, not the close, because the yes keeps the door open. Now we're back to the first step for the next opportunity. That is a process. It's a methodology. And we've got so many clients, whatever they say, they say, Jeff, we never had a process or a system or a methodology up till now. So now they've got a structure that really helps them sell more. And when you sell more, that really means you're helping others improve their condition and attain a more favorable future. So it goes back to what we're doing for others. It just became about them. It ain't about us. All right, questions. You want me to share a few?
And that's why yes, I want you to share a few, but I just want to comment quickly. That process, I is when it step 5. Step 6 is you're continuing that relationship. So what are the next steps? I call it building the relationship, continuing to build the relationship, or moving the relationship forward. Close is not part of it. We don't close anything. It's an opening of going through the loops over and over again, just like you said. So it's so funny. You label it differently, same exact type of process, if you will. But you need a process. You can't just wing it, right? We're shooting from the hip is garbage. All right, now we have the last piece, the questions, and then we'll do the wrap up with the gifts. Go ahead.
So I'll share with your listeners and viewers some questions. I've literally got hundreds and hundreds of questions, but asking decision makers simple questions like, well, what are some of the challenges that you're currently facing? I ask, what are the specific skills or attitudes or behaviors you'd like your people to be able to implement? As a result of this, what's the impact upon your performance or your productivity or profitability? Because people come to me for business growth strategies, I'll ask them questions like, conservatively, what are you losing top line in terms of lost revenue? What are your margins? What are you losing bottom line? And then I allow them to determine what those numbers are. And then I kind of pause when I'm looking at what they're losing top line or bottom line. I'll go, let's say you just recovered half of those lost opportunities. If you recovered only half, what would that mean to you and your company economically? What would the impact be? Now, that's a logic question, they answer. And then I'll say, what would that mean to you personally? Now, that's a heart or emotional question. So now they've articulated to me, and I'm taking notes throughout the process based upon a
Absolutely.
closed-ended question. Hey, Connie, is it okay if I jot down some notes? You're sharing great stuff, and I don't want to miss a word. No one has ever said no to me. So now I can use
Me either.
their specific language. No one says no
Yeah.
because you're showing a sincere interest in being able to help them.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, I now have captured both economic data as well as emotional data. Two questions that always work, and I ask them is, Connie, how will we measure success? Now I know whether it's qualitative, quantitative metrics, or both. And I will also ask, what will you value most in our relationship? And I ask that to CEOs, and they tell me. Now I know what's really important to them. So those are just a few initial questions, and I got a boatload. But specifically, we created something for your folks in this podcast. And if folks would like to get what we call the Sweet 16, if they want 16 questions that they can use, and they can use them now, because people have literally said, Jeff, I got them in the morning, I use them in the afternoon, or I use them the next day. And I love when people then call or email and they say, it worked. Well, of course it worked, because these are proven questions, not just me, but client experience. All right, if people want those 16 questions, here's all that they need to do. Send an email to Cheryl in my office. And her email address is Cheryl, Sheryl, one more time, Sheryl at jeffblackman.com. So send an email to Cheryl at jeffblackman.com. In the subject, simply put Connie Rocks Sweet 16. Connie Rocks Sweet 16. We know what that means. We will send folks 16 key power probes that they can now use to develop their own dynamic dozen. And you can have more than one dynamic dozen. You can have a different dynamic dozen for different products, different types of decision makers, or different types of services, markets, industries, if you're serving multiple folks. And the key is that these questions drive results. Why? They elevate you to partner status, not being a vendor. And what they enable you to do is have others perceive you differently. You no longer do data dumps. You do not show up and throw up. You are converting knowledge that you obtain about others into immediate action and results. And the only thing folks are focused on, Connie, is the results, the benefits, the advantages, and the outcomes you can then deliver to them. So one more time, Cheryl at jeffblackman.com, subject Connie Rocks Sweet 16, and Cheryl will send you these 16 Power Probe questions.
I love it.
An immediate help to everybody.
I love it. And here's the thing, the structure's there, and truly questions, those probing questions, they really are like a magic wand. And if you go back to my intro where I said, is it magic? And I go, is it magic or luck? Sure, I believe that there has to be a little bit of luck in meeting the right people, but I also believe that we create that luck by showing up prepared. And the questions are one piece of that. To me, it's one of the bigger pieces, like you've just described. And if people don't get the Sweet 16, they're crazy, because it's a structure that they can then use and tweak, right? That you have the you've built it. Now they can go in and change the color, if you will, right? They could paint over and put their industry in, or their product name in, or whatever it is based on the conversation. But the template of the question is stellar, and it's going to get them the results. So you've literally given them beautiful 16 questions on a silver platter. Thank you so much. I love the gift.
And then here's a subtlety. Two simple things that show and tell time. Take those questions, and everyone create based upon not only what I send you, but create your own questions. And this is a remarkable tool. Put those questions on your phone in both a written format and with your voice. So on my phone, I can take a look at my power probes. In addition, I can listen to my voice articulating 12 questions. We've got clients now that have done the exact Same thing. They go, Jeff, before I go into a call or make a call, I listen to me on my cell phone. Really simple, and it works. One other thing, that means that you're practicing. This is one of my favorite little props that literally I travel the world with. It's a practice golf ball. And articulated, it says the word practice. Now, it's emblazoned more than once. This is from the Beachmont Country Club in Beechwood, Ohio, suburb of Cleveland. So I've had a client there for some time in Cleveland. The CEO is a member of this country club. The first time that I worked with his folks in person was at the country club, and the meeting was in the grand ballroom. The grand ballroom overlooked the 18th green. Beneath the drapes that went from ceiling to floor, I found this ball. First of all, that's a really bad approach shot to the 18th green because it was inside the grand ballroom. But when I picked up the ball and saw that it said the word practice, I said to the CEO, I went, this in essence is why we're here. And the CEO said to me, Blackman, share that with my people tomorrow, because he, like others have said, you are the best prepared individual I have ever worked with in all my years of business. Practice, practice, practice. That's what winners do. That's how distinction is created. And as you know, in my last book that came out in December of 2022, it quickly became a bestseller because it talks about practice, preparation, winning strategies. Whether I'm talking about Caitlyn Jenner, that I knew was Bruce Jenner when I interviewed him back in the 80s. If we're talking about the late, great Bill Russell, the iconic Hall of Fame basketball player who I consulted with years ago, the key to great athletes or great business people is they are well prepared. That's what winners do.
Yes.
Winners don't make excuses. They practice, they prepare, and they are ready. It's game time.
I love it. And show up, practice, because being prepared matters. And that's a great differentiator. So really quick before we end, can I give your email, Jeff, if they have a question for you directly, or just Cheryl?
No, if folks want to shoot something.
Jeff's direct email, JB. So
yeah, JB at Jeff.
Just send it to Cheryl.
No, folks can send anything they like to Cheryl, but if they want to ask me something specific or they like to chat with me, you can send it to JB at jeffblackman.com. Sure, that's cool.
Sure. Okay, JB at jeffblackman.com. I will put that in the show notes. Website is obviously www.jgsalespro.com. Is that right, Jeff?
No, my website is just jeffblackman.com.
So jeffblackman.com. And again, that free gift, everybody should be signing up. It's Cheryl, SHERYL at jeffblackman.com. I promise I will put all of that in the show notes. And don't forget, subject line, Connie rocks, because I do. And then Sweet 16. So you get those 16 awesome questions. Jeff, thank you so much for taking the time being on. You guys, you have an action step now. Please take that free gift, or even if you just take the questions that Jeff outlined for us today during the show, start applying them this afternoon or whenever you're listening, the next day if you're listening at night, apply them. I promise action creates reaction, which creates the magic that we've been talking about today. Jeff, thank you again. Always a delight spending time with you. So thank you for your time.
My pleasure. Thanks, Connie.